Hey, Alex.
Hey,
How are you? Welcome, everybody, to Untold. Um, I've got to confess that I just ate a big bowl of oatmeal. I realized I hadn't eaten all day. You ever have days like that? You're not
yeah,
really hungry, you're just kind of fasting, whatever. All of a sudden, I realized I hadn't eaten all day, and I'm like, no, I know what I'll do. I'll grab some instant oatmeal, very pollution free tap water,
right.
put some tap water in there, and then then do my normal. Oh, I hope I don't overcook it in the microwave. So I put it in there and I put it for like a minute 50 or whatever. And then, of course, I get bored. I can't just sit there and wait. I have to go do something. So then I forget about it. But apparently, I entered it wrong, like maybe 2 minutes and 50. So all of a sudden, I'm in a panic because I remember I had oatmeal in the microwave and run in there. And then I swear to God, it was like a foot high, the oatmeal.
Oh no. Was it
All
25 minutes? How
all,
long did you put
all
that thing in there?
inside of the microwave, right? All spilled over. So I had this big mess to clean up. Oh my God. But I did get a little bit of oatmeal. Whatever. I wasn't gonna scrape it off the bottom of the microwave.
Yeah.
So I just ate what was left in the bowl. So anyhow, if you see me dozing off, it's because I'm over carbed. Anyhow. So we have what? We got Nate Brislin on tonight.
Yes.
We're gonna talk about the crawlers and the rakes, which a lot of people don't know about, but a lot of people do know about. But I do meet a lot of people that go, what's that? The average person has never even heard of it. But you know what's cool? Even the guy you work with, did you know? Joe has seen a rake or a crawler. Whatever.
Joe has seen a rake.
You didn't know that, did you?
No. How far back was that?
I think it was like 3 years ago. It ran right in front of his car. So I just realized the flashlight on my phone is on, which goes right along with my oatmeal. So why would my flashlight be on my phone?
It's extra lighting.
Yeah, anyhow, but yeah, no, Joe had an amazing sighting. It ran in front of their car, and it came so close to the car they thought they were going to for sure hit it. And they actually said we should have hit it because it was that close. It was just this white bent over creature with like its back as tall as it came over the top of the hood. Think about a creature bent over, running on all fours, pure white, creepy big head, like a balloon head.
Yeah.
Picture a white balloon with big eyes, and seeing something like that in the car. And it ran from a farm field into another farm field. But he said it just freaked him out and said, no way it was a deer. It was something weird.
How fast are these things? Are they like
really speedy? Yeah, that's what a lot. Well, Nate's going to be able to tell us more.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're pretty speedy. People report them speedy. Once again, everybody, you can say, well, it's all a bunch of BS. But I think Nate will be the first to admit that when you start talking to the eyewitnesses and you really start drilling down and you realize they really saw something. They don't know what it is, but they know the description of what they saw. And so they've put these creatures in the category of crawlers and rakes.
So is there like a difference, or is it just literally a name like Sasquatch, Bigfoot? Or are there different types?
Once again, I don't know. I don't
So
study.
we'll have to ask Nate.
I don't study either thing. But when you know somebody really well, like we know Joe, and he tells you a story like that, and his wife saw it too. Cheryl saw it too.
Have you ever seen anything like that?
No. Well, yeah, no, I'm just joking.
No.
I have not. Thank God. Although when you guys were young, Blaine had driven up with me. Your younger brother drove up with me to some gas station in Forest Lake to grab some milk, and it was kind of late. It was maybe 9 o'clock, but it was one of those cold fall, rainy nights,
Kind of foggy, maybe.
It was just kind of creepy night.
Yeah.
And we were listening to Art Bell, and we were running up to the grocery store, and we had to go on that windy North Shore Trail, that real windy road. And it's forested on both sides, and you get the lake on the one side. So we're coming back, and this white creature runs out in front of the car, and it's walking like a robot. It's the best
Like
way.
a robot.
Like a robot. Like it was lifting its legs really high, but it was only like 4 feet tall. I no idea. And all I remember is Blaine going, "What was that?" Well, we saw it, right in front of the car, and then it ran and jumped over a guardrail, and then we saw it run down to the lake. Creepy. No
With its
idea.
legs up high.
Well, when it ran, it lifted its legs really high in a very
like goose stepping, sort of.
God, I don't even know how to robotic like they were just like over high, like it was bouncing when it was walking.
Super bizarre.
And real wobbly, but pretty quick. But when it leaped over the guardrail, it did so gracefully, and when it ran down the hill, it did so gracefully. It ran down the hill different than it went across the road.
Did you ever hear of anyone in that area? Like, I don't know, a paper. I don't know who would even report something like that.
No,
right?
exactly. What are you going to call the police? White
right, where do you go?
And it looked like it had hair, but I don't really know. I just know it was all white.
Maybe today, it could have might have posted about it on Facebook or something.
All I know is, you see stuff like that. It's a one-off, and you go, sticking that in my gray basket. And of course, you tell people, and they look at you like, "Oh, really? Yeah, sure you did." Yep. There were other things on that road. There was one other incident where I was driving back. Your mom was in the car, and we're driving back from downtown Forest Lake, and I saw these 2 eyes kind of glowing at the side of the road. And whatever it was leaped at the car, literally, its whole body, and landed on the side of the van. Because I had that production van for television production, and it leaped and just totally flat belly flopped on the side of the car, and its face was right next to mine.
Right next to you.
And I looked it right in the eyes. To this day, I have no idea what category to put it in. It had bulging eyes, and they were in the front, and it just looked like it wanted to kill me. And it pooped all over the side of my van. Yeah, I thought it was dented, because it just like viciously from a standstill leaped at the car, and it just went boom, on the side of the car. Scared the crap out of, both of us.
Now, how long was it before you went outside again?
Well, until I got home in my driveway, and even then I think I got in the house pretty quick. And then it was the next morning I looked, and there was poop all over the whole side of the car, including on the a little running board that vans have. That step thing to get in. I don't know. It's like it hit my van so hard it squeezed the poop out of it. So it's not like you hit a dog. It's not like you hit it. It hit you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It hit me. So was it a rake or a crawler? I don't freaking know. I have no idea, but I do remember looking right in its eyes. Face to face. I was inches away.
Did it have a...
But I do remember this, telling myself, never walk on North Shore Trail.
After that.
Shore Trail, ever. Creepy. Well, Blaine was up there doing research on that very road, and he ran into a guy that was out there doing the dark. Blaine was out there totally in the dark. I don't know. I think he was with somebody. And they ran into a guy, and the guys it was very awkward. Think about these men that kind of meet on the edge of North Shore Trail, and it's pitch black, and it's like 1 a.m, It was kind of awkward. They ended up talking to each other. And it's like, well, what are you doing out here? What are you doing out here? And the guy goes, oh, my son saw a gorilla.
A gorilla.
That climbed a tree then.
Yeah, a Bigfoot sighting.
Yeah, of course. And that's why Blaine was there. Because there's sightings.
So they were both looking for the same thing.
Here is what I call the triangle. It's part of that. You've heard of the Bridgewater Triangle, whatever. I think there's a triangle in Minnesota that extends north of Minneapolis about 40 miles and then goes about 40 miles east and west and then goes up to Moose Lake. That's the triangle. Man, I'm telling you, I could write a book on the stories I've heard from that area.
Just that area alone.
Yeah, plus I've got probably 5 or 6, maybe 7, maybe even 8. Anyhow, I'll share one next week. I can't believe I already got 7:12. Okay. So I was going to just kind of get into a little bit of light news, like the U.S. warns about not donating DNA. Did you hear about this?
No.
So a member of the House Intelligence Committee literally warned Americans, I think it was yesterday, I saw him on TV, warned Americans that DNA testing services could use your DNA to develop bioweapons for specific groups. And I'm
That's creepy.
That's creepy as heck, meaning they could go, oh, we want to kill all the white people. Or whatever.
Or this ethnic group or whatever. This
line, this heritage, that they could target individuals with a virus. Obviously, they got some intel. They didn't just come up with that. That just didn't hit them yesterday. But why they decided to warn everybody, I don't know. That's scary. But they did. And that's so enough said on that one. People can, look it up, Google it. As you know, we're working on a few books. Right, Alex?
Sorry, I missed that.
I said we're working on a few books, as you know.
Yes.
Anyhow, and I was kind of wondering how many new books are published every year. So I just found some interesting book facts because most of us like to read books. Most people have no idea how many books get published every year. 2.2 million new titles. So if you're writing a book, don't expect to get rich.
Yeah.
A lot of competition. If you make number 1 on Amazon in your category, consider that an amazing miracle, right?
Yeah.
But there are a lot of books published. Okay. So if you stack all of the new books being published, right, next to each other, just think about this. So if you take all the books and put them next to each other, you would have to drive 90 miles an hour to keep up with the new titles.
Or you'd fall behind.
Think about that. So the books being published go 90 miles an hour.
That's insane.
Just placed end to end. Yeah. It's an interesting fact, right? That you're only going to hear on Untold Radio.
Well, yeah, I mean, I heard something like, I forget the exact percentage, it was something like 99% of most books sell less than 5,000 copies. So
99%.
Something like that.
Of course. Okay, the USA publishes 334,000 new titles in 1 year, or 1 million if you consider the audiobooks. So there's 1 million new titles, just the US. So since the printing press was invented in 1440, this is according to Google, so it may not be true, more than 130 million books. Hold on here. Jeez, this thing got cut off. Maybe I'm talking gibberish. I have to oh, there it goes. I can read it all. 130 million unique titles have been published. In the U.S., total books sold so far has been 840 million unit sales. So I actually thought that was low. I mean, we're talking since 1440, only 840 million units of books.
And what is half of that Harry Potter books?
Exactly. God, could you imagine being her?
Yeah.
Anyhow, I thought it would be more than that. I don't know why. I figured it would be in the billions. So it says 20% are just ebooks, 80% being print books. Speedy readers like you who can blast through passages in 60 seconds. Basically, I think they mean like what's a passage? A paragraph?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. So apparently somebody can blast through a passage.
A page?
Who in the hell wrote this?
I'm like, what is a passage? Is that a page? Is that 2 pages?
No, I don't know.
Is
Maybe
that
it's
a paragraph?
Could be a whole chapter, a passage, whatever. Look it up. You're the one with Google. Look it up. What's a book passage? I want to know.
What's a book passage?
Well, apparently those people who can read one book passage in 60 seconds can read 55 books in a year with only 30 minutes of daily reading time.
Yeah, so it's like a book a week.
So what is a passage? What is a book passage?
Okay, here's what a passage is. A portion or a section of a written work, which means nothing.
That means nothing. Okay.
Passage.
A passage. So that starts our new code word, passage. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So I was going to mention this only because this is one of my fears. That's why I'm mentioning it. I'm admitting this scares me. And I think I read stuff like this and I just get, oh God. So a guy, I'm not going to read it, just a guy named William, an older guy, right? He's enjoying the warm weather down in Little Sabine Bay in Pensacola. He was down there to attend a Blue Angel show, an air show.
Yeah.
So he decides to take the family to the water. You're thinking, what can happen, right? So this isn't about sharks. This is worse than sharks, okay? So 5 days later, he takes a swim, they all do. 5 days later, the guy's leg begins to get sore.
Oh,
Okay,
no.
by day 6, he was in severe pain. So his leg then starts swelling up, just kept swelling. They rush him to the hospital. And of course, he's got that flesh-eating bacteria, which apparently you can get in the ocean. There's quite a bit of it in the ocean, in fact. And people don't think about that. So this bacteria, flesh-eating bacteria, called Vibrio. Oh, God. The last one is Volinfucius. Apparently, it's many types of organisms that cause necrotizing fasciitis, which is basically flesh eating. And so it got into his bloodstream, and yeah, I don't even need to tell you what happened to him. It's not.
Is there nothing you could do?
No, not really. Now, once it gets in your blood and gets everywhere, and it's already infected, they really don't seem to have anything. Apparently, it's very antibiotic resistant. So, of course, they had to chop his leg off to save the rest of his body. So he takes a swim. Just think about that. The guy goes on vacation. He goes to see an air show, jumps in the water to take a swim, and oh, man.
All right, I'm never going in the ocean.
People always think because the ocean's full of salt water,
yeah,
the salt would kill the bacteria.
That's what you think.
Hell no. I remember I used to soak my fish in salt water because my fish fillets, because I would think that, it's going to get rid of some of the enzymes, the bacteria out of the fish, make it taste better. Well, I think it makes it taste better, but apparently it doesn't. I don't think it kills the bacteria.
So I wonder if a bunch of other people got caught with that bacteria
I
that
don't
were
know.
swimming.
I mean, this
Think
is
about
just
it.
one article in the
I
press.
know. But that could have been 20, 30 people.
Yeah, but apparently 1 teaspoon, I think we did that on a show, 1 teaspoon of salt water has got like 4 billion different kinds of bacteria and viruses in it. The ocean is literally a soup of viruses and bacteria. Yeah, it's just incredible.
Don't drink it.
Oh, God, no. So then I'm reading this and I'm thinking, I think we should talk about water. Water facts. Oh, my God. Like, we don't all deal with water, but do you realize how little people know about water? Back in the
I don't know much about water.
No, most people don't, even though
Yeah.
they can't live without it. They have no idea. They don't know anything about it. So back in the 90s, I produced a documentary on snow because I'm like, well, I'm sure other people have. Hell no, had never been done. As far as I know, there were not even any books written on it, on snow, which involves water, of course.
Absolutely.
I couldn't believe all this stuff, the content I put in my documentary. Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
What's the wildest thing you learned from doing that?
That water alone, just water, liquid water even has a crystalline structure that gets its structure by bouncing off rocks in streams, basically.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the crystalline structure affects its purity and its energy and the benefits that you take on. And I'm telling you, I talked to scientists about this. And it's quite interesting. So you talk about like the Himalayan water or water from these mountainous areas, because on the way down the water is bouncing, and it's that bouncing action that cleans it and gives water energy, and it takes in nutrients, and it just basically there's a difference between dead water and pipes and live water that comes from unpolluted streams that are actively with like rapids. You see a rapids, and so they are thinking about adding bumps and things in our water pipes in the future.
Oh, really? They're thinking of modifying the whole.
Yeah, to modify
piping
the
system.
entire infrastructure for fresh water. It comes out of the ground
Mhm.
to add basically things that stick out, so the water has to get agitated on the way to your home. Okay, but anyhow, let's get in. We've got 6 minutes. I'll cover a few things I'm sure you've never heard about. How many gallons of water do you think are used in the United States each day?
Oh my gosh.
You're not gonna.
I'm just gonna make a fool out of myself.
No, of course. 400 billion gallons of water are used in the U.S. each day.
Billions.
400 billion gallons of water are used, which then means, whatever. Obviously, water is recycled. So 1.7 of the world's water, including the oceans, is frozen, therefore unusable. 30% of the entire fresh water that we have on Earth is in the ground. 30% of it. Nearly 1/2 of the water used by Americans is used for thermal electric power generation. That's interesting. In 1 year, the average American residents, like you and me, uses 100,000 gallons of water.
100,000
Yep,
gallons.
a year. Yeah, 100,000 gallons. It would be fun to see that in one spot, right? Or in a swimming pool. Wouldn't it be cool?
Oh yeah.
Everything
that you use.
Anyhow, water can dissolve more substances than any other liquid, including sulfuric acid. So more things will dissolve in water than sulfuric acid. That was interesting to me. The freezing point of water lowers as the amount of salt dissolved in it increases. So salt obviously keeps it from freezing. With the average levels of salt, seawater freezes at 2 degrees -2 Celsius, or 28.4 degrees Fahrenheit, where fresh water freezes at 32, whatever, 32 point.
Yeah, 32.
I don't even know. What is it? 32 what? 32?
32.
Oh,
Something.
32. There's something there.
32.7.
I used to know it. Okay, so how many gallons of water does it take to require your food for a family of 4? So you got a family of 4 to feed you for one day, right? How many gallons of water does it take to grow the food, whether it's meat, veggies, or whatever? It's 6,800
6,800
per day
per day
to grow your veggies.
to grow my McDonald's hamburgers.
No. 780 million people lack access to improved water source. Okay. In just one day, 200 million work hours are consumed by women collecting water for families around the globe. 200 million work hours to just gather the water. So you're lucky you have a faucet.
Yes.
And we should all be appreciative of having that faucet. It says unsafe water kills 200 children every hour. That's insane.
That's sad.
Yeah, it's very sad. Water weighs 8 pounds a gallon. It takes 120 gallons of water just to make one egg.
One crappy egg.
One crappy egg? I like eggs. I like to explode them, apparently. Boil them and leave them on for 2 hours. Anyhow, a jellyfish and a cucumber are each 95% water.
What are we, 97? What are we?
And did you know, Alex, your brain is 70% water?
30% Gatorade?
Well, mine's Gatorade. 50% of water is lost through leaks in cities in the developing world. So 50% of our fresh water is lost. But water is really never lost. When you take a drink of water, everybody, you're drinking dinosaur pee. All of us are. I mean, that's just a fact. And then in some places like Nevada, they recycle all of the wastewater. So when you take a shower, you're taking a shower and everything that got flushed down the toilet.
That's a pleasant thought.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. I've thought about that. What time is it? Oh, I have 1 minute. Water expands 9% when it freezes, and a person can live a month without food, but only a week or less without water. It says here the length of a side of a cube, whatever that means, side of a cube, which could hold the Earth's estimated total water volume is 1150 to the 10th power. So I'm like, why did I write that down?
Yeah.
I'm a moron. I shouldn't have written that down. Nobody care. I don't care. I didn't even care about that, but I wrote it down anyhow.
I care about it.
So Americans drink more than 1 billion glasses of nasty tap water per day that I put in my oatmeal. So there you go.
I want to know how it compares to Coke.
We'll end it on that. Let's
have Nate on.
Yeah.
We can talk about the crawlers and the rakes.
Yeah. And I did cheat, and I did talk to Nate about crawlers about, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago. So I cheated.
And he's working on a book right now, correct?
Yes. Yeah, and I think he's going to maybe let us publish it. Maybe.
If we're lucky enough.
Get him to commit online here.
Well, all right. How's it going today, Nate?
Good. How are you?
Nate.
Good.
You're the guy with the golden voice.
Is that what they're saying?
Well, that's what I think. I think your voice.
Thank you.
You got a great voice.
I like how you brought the oatmeal like full circle with that story.
Oh yeah.
You started with oatmeal and then ended with oatmeal.
Yeah. Well, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
That's because I'm a professional journalist, Nate.
Right.
Just kidding. But let's just dive right in here. One, why don't you just tell us how you got interested in this topic?
In crawlers or cryptozoology, specifically
Oh,
crawlers?
yeah, well, crawlers first.
Yeah, totally. So the Dover Demon is one of my favorite cryptids, and it's especially interesting being able to work so closely along Lauren Coleman, and he's the guy who was originally there to interview all of the three eyewitnesses about in 1977 about the Dover Demon sightings, and the whole thing around that is that was a seemingly completely anomalous event that happened. There had never been anything cited like that before or after, and I kind of found out that that's not true when I interviewed these people for my podcast a couple years ago from Kentucky, who reported almost exactly the same thing that was cited in Dover, Massachusetts. So that's what kind of spurred that when they showed me their eyewitness sketches of it, and it was almost exactly the same as what
So what you're
had
saying,
been.
there were more than one sightings in just that area of Dover, Delaware?
Massachusetts. I have one other one from Massachusetts, but this specific one is from Kentucky.
That is crazy. Yeah, I remember seeing that picture, the hand drawing.
Mhm.
It was very creepy. I mean, it's something, when you look at that thing, it kind of cuts right to your core, your primordial instincts. And
Absolutely.
even though it's tight, it's not very big. It's not like running into a Bigfoot,
Right.
but it's far more creepy. Don't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with how consistent a lot of the because the book contains almost every case file has an eyewitness sketch to go with it, and when you line them all up side by side, they're almost all exactly the same, and they're not just like copy paste gray alien things. They don't have like the almond shaped eyes or like a triangular head or anything. They're all almost exactly the same, or some do report like mouths and stuff like that, but they're usually the mouth isn't visible, but they do have sort of round eyes. Like it's very distinct features that are reported, and never any UFOs or lights or anything that accompany with them. So I'm less, looking back through all of it, I'm definitely more inclined to believe that it's more of like a natural phenomenon, like an animal, rather than something that's like from outer space or something like that.
Do you think it's possible it could be some kind of weird genetic throwback of a black bear or a raccoon or something like that that's got some weird, in other words, there's black bears born with big giant heads and no fur, and you know what I mean? I don't know.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think why I don't think it's a black bear or a raccoon or anything like that is that people report hands, specifically with thumbs, and they're able to manipulate stuff. And that's one of the things that was so notable about the Dover Demon sighting, was that they could actually see it manipulating the rocks, like the hands molding around the rocks as it was climbing around the environment. And that's also something else that people report with these more modern sightings that I've
Alex,
collected.
can you Google Dover Demon?
Yeah.
I think those the original photos, the original drawing has been online since the internet was formed.
Yeah, it was 1977, and it was within a day or more, I think a little longer than a day, and it was cited by 3 different people who were completely unrelated to each other, and they all drew almost exactly the same thing.
Now, is this what we're talking about?
Yep.
Yep. There's that one. There's I can't really point to tell you which one, but there's that one up against the tree. That's also one of them, of the original ones.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
And these are all from completely unrelated people who saw this thing within a day or so.
That better not be a natural animal, Nate. Better not be.
I've gotten 1 or 2 reports where they involve some sort of supernatural things, like a light or like self-illuminating eyes, but I haven't found anything yet that would indicate they stepped off a UFO or were apparitions or anything like that.
Yeah,
So.
which would be anecdotal anyhow, even if
Right, yeah.
you had. But yeah, I would rather have a dog man walk out of my closet in my bedroom than one of those.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
I totally
almost,
agree.
like when I look at him, I mean, it almost looks like a gray alien with rabies.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
But there's definitely a distinction between like gray alien and crawler and rake, or what you guys are calling it, a rake. So
yeah,
I can actually talk about that.
let's do
Is
that.
there a difference?
There is. So the crawler phenomenon, so for the longest time it was just the Dover Demon, which was those 3 sightings in 77, and no one had ever seen anything like that for years again. So there wasn't really, it was just concentrated as the Dover Demon, and that's what it was documented as. And then with newer sightings, people started coming up with the name crawlers because the very distinct sort of characteristic is that they're always crawling around and manipulating the environment very well. And they're, like you said earlier, they're very fast. And the rake dates back a few years before crawler, but I still prefer to use the term crawler because the rake has original ties with the creepypasta stuff. So like the Slender Man and fictional like online stories.
Okay.
But people didn't really have a name for these crawler sightings until that distinction's made. So I think people were attaching on to the name rake because that's what was kind of already known. But I prefer to say crawler because then it kind of disconnects that from like the fictional horror stories online and stuff like that.
I gotcha. So what in the, I mean, has anybody ever reported them eating anything or feeding on a carcass or carrion?
Definitely. Actually, consistently, people have reported them eating deer on the side of the road. And I even have an eyewitness sketch in the book where it's hunched over a deer and they drove by it and saw it feeding on a deer carcass. And I have a couple other ones that have them either stalking or eating deer too. But they're not, I haven't yet found one where anyone's really been attacked by them physically. No one's been, unless they were, taken, they wouldn't be able to report being attacked by it.
There's always that, well, if they've been taken for good, no, we wouldn't know. So.
Yeah. But the consistencies between almost all of the eyewitness sightings that I've received is that people will be stalked by it, and they will even be charged by it or chased by it, almost like a gorilla, but no one's ever been, hit by it or bitten or anything like that. So there's a very territorial and like predatory aspect to it, but that's only the ones that people were able to report.
So Nate, there's no attack survivors.
Not to my knowledge.
So
no.
that makes them not dangerous, right, Nate?
So from what I found, yeah, there may be very terrifying when you encounter one, but there's,
have you ever
at least I haven't found anyone.
You ever heard of a heart attack, Nate?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I remember I went out to my mailbox. It was like 3 a.m. to get my mail, right? And the sprinklers went off. That.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I don't think I've ever jumped that high in my life.
Yeah. You didn't need coffee that morning.
I think I jumped high like 6 feet and twirled, and then I landed on the ground. Oh my.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. So okay, back to the carrion. So something's eating flesh. Deer meat. It stalks people. It's been reported stalking people.
Right.
Off charging people. But it's not dangerous. That we know.
That we know of. Yeah. No, no one's come to me with, photos of slash marks on them or anything like that. Yeah. But maybe another less comforting thing is that when they do report a mouth, when it's open, they do report fangs and sharper canines and stuff like that.
That's nice to know too.
Yeah.
Fangs and claws. Okay. Oh man, it just, I mean, I've been afraid of that thing since I was a kid.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
So have you found any reports of these things going even further back? Like maybe it's a sighting. Maybe it isn't like, but like in history or Native American culture. Like, is it just start with the Dover Demon? I guess as far as what you've seen or read up on.
It kind of, yeah. People also want to relate it to like Wendigo and Skinwalkers and things like that. But that again, I think those are completely different
Mhm.
phenomenon because these things aren't described as cannibalistic or anything like that. They do fit kind of like the idea, at least physical description of a Wendigo, where it's just this pale, emaciated person, but they're never seen eating people that we know of.
Well, there's a couple of comments I want to get in because of the time.
Yeah.
People say, well, you say it's a natural animal. And people then, of course, their argument be, well, there's nothing in the fossil record. I have news for everybody. There's no raccoons in the fossil record either. There's no white-tailed deer. There's no bears, no black bears. There's no grizzly bears. There's nothing. There's no cougars, no wolves in the fossil record. These are all modern animals that don't exist in the fossil record. So we can't go by fossils. That's
Oh yeah, even with chimps, we have like 3 teeth to show that they existed in the fossil record.
yeah.
So it's not a lot.
So I'm just, I never want to use that argument because fossils they can take forever, hundreds
totally.
of years. So we wouldn't know. So if we could wait 100,000 years and go flash forward, then maybe we can find fossil records of your crawlers, right?
Right. They could add it to my book in the future.
So Deborah goes, are there any visual sex organs or are they androgynous like Grace?
No one's ever reported any genitalia or anything like that.
Okay. Crawler genitalia, that'd be all we need.
Right.
Oh God.
What about is there been a pattern like John was actually asking have they been seen near power plants?
That's a good
Not from what I've seen. No one's pointed that they were near any kind of nuclear plant or any kind of like military installation or anything like that either. So I would say no, at least from what I've found.
Well, you remember
someone else might have some stories.
You remember when you talked to Joe, Nate, on the phone?
Yes, I do.
Here from Minnesota. Now his was down in basically corn country. Is there an area, a geographic specific area these things are seen? Is there always woods? Is there a certain type of farm that's notable by these sightings?
So the 2 states, oddly enough, that I've I was going through last night just to get like a geological sort of or geographical idea. And a lot of the ones that I've found surprisingly come from Kentucky and Pennsylvania. And I'm not sure why that is. Kentucky is famous for the Hopkinsville goblins, which may be some sort of parallel, but those were also more. There was a UFO scene before that happened, and then they were sort of levitating, glowing creatures, which is not really something that has to do with crawlers. Although I do have 2 crawler eyewitness sketches that actually have pointed ears, but there's only 2 that exist out of all the other ones that I found.
Yep. So Slim, I totally agree. I don't think they're natural. I don't think they could be. I think they could be metaphysical. But we don't even know if metaphysical things exist. You know what I mean? So.
Oh yeah, and people say that about Sasquatch too, but I also don't think Sasquatch is a psychic thing or anything like that.
No, I think the Bigfoot, if any of the cryptids is just regular flesh and blood, it would be it. But that doesn't mean that there couldn't be both. What if there's physical Bigfoots living here? What if there's metaphysical ones? And God knows.
Oh, totally.
What if there's Bigfoot ghosts?
If ghosts are real, then they would have to be.
They could be ghost Bigfoot.
Right. Yeah. I forget who told me, but I heard somewhere, and this may be totally wrong, but the BFRO throws out a big chunk of like supernatural reports or anything that involves a UFO. I don't know if anyone will be able to confirm that, but when the biggest like Bigfoot research organization is getting a huge chunk of their sightings that are supernatural and stuff like that, it is kind of a curious thing to consider.
Well, in the same token, you can't blame them only because, their main goal is to try to get scientists interested. I mean,
Oh,
that
totally,
really,
and I totally agree.
that really is their main goal. If they start putting that stuff in there, scientists are just going to walk away. But
Oh yeah.
as the science of other dimensions continues to grow,
Hmm.
and that and our understanding, it becomes part of our collective conscious, then that's going to be less of an issue.
Oh, totally.
But you can see the resistance. There's so much. I'm just open-minded. I mean, I'm not even open-minded. I'm just ignorant. I have
Right.
no knowledge of any of it. Nobody does.
So they don't archive it at all, to your knowledge? They just literally flat reject it?
To my knowledge, again, this is what I've heard from
Yeah.
other
Sure,
researchers
understood.
and stuff like that. But someone could totally
'Cause it'd
fact
be
check that, I'm
interesting if
sure.
they at least kept it, and
Well,
then they'd have all this data.
they probably do.
Maybe. Just maybe not. Maybe they just keep it from the public.
Yeah.
But there might be some, interesting patterns there. Some
Yeah.
data that could
Yeah,
be mined.
definitely. And that's why I'm keeping all my stuff. I haven't thrown any sightings out that are like too weird or anything. There's one that is a smaller one, only about 2 or 3 feet tall, that was reported, and it has like these extending tendrils that comes out of its fingers. But that's also just another like one-off thing that is not consistent with any other reports. But I'm still keeping all the supernatural ones in the book, just so it's kind of like a jumping off point for people to go off and
Yeah.
maybe report their more weirder sightings if they see it in the book. So
Has anybody reported ever being like finding one in their barn or inside a domicile?
yeah, actually, there's one which, again, they had a sketch of it, and it was a big face at the foot of their bed.
Okay.
But it was yeah, that's the only one where one's been inside a house, which is a very brief sighting. But there have been a couple, actually a big chunk of them were actually on farmland, so near barns and inside barns and stuff like that. People have reported them as well.
Oof. Yeah, so
Very fun.
Can you relate the inside bedroom one from memory?
Yeah, I can actually. I know I didn't send it to you, but I could have the file up right here.
No, we're driving this interview blind, Nate.
Right.
We don't know anything, which is fine. I love doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
I could find it. There it is. So this was in September of 2013 in Arizona. The person was getting ready for bed, and they just saw that they felt this presence, which is something that a lot of eyewitnesses report, is that they'll just sense it. It's kind of like with Sasquatch, where people are like, okay, something's definitely here, something's off. And a lot of people will also report being like frozen in fear. And I actually went through and like checked for the word frozen, and it comes up at least like 8 different times, specifically quoted as people saying I was frozen in fear when I saw
Really
this thing. Yeah. So I don't know if that implies like some kind of infrasound, or if it's just it's a stressful situation, which I imagine it would be. But yeah, and this person just saw it at the foot of their bed, and then it just disappeared.
No one's ever mentioned jumping in the air and spinning when they see one.
No.
Like my
No.
sprinkler encounter with the sprinkler.
Right.
So like with the one that was seen in the house, were there any like claw marks that were left, or any evidence of it being in the home?
Nope, not at all. So that might play into a more metaphysical theory or a ghost of a natural creature or something like that. But like I said, that's the only one that would be inside a building, aside from other ones that were like on the outside of barns and on the outside like that.
Oh my God.
So
Well, go ahead, Alex. Go ahead.
When were you convinced that there was something really there? You said that you were originally really into the Dover case.
Yeah, definitely. Just because it was such a like anomalous thing, and the whole thing behind it was that it only was cited by these 3 people and then never again. And then I interviewed these people from Kentucky, and they sent me sketches that were almost exactly like the original Dover Demon ones. And they're updated one, their most updated one, because they kept sending me updated ones every few months. So they had their original ones, and then they sent me more refined sketches, and then the cover of my book is actually the full color most recent updated one from them, and that was in Kentucky at a state park. And
no, that one is standing, Nate. It was standing upright.
That is standing, yep. And then once they started to leave, to go away from it, it dropped down on all fours, and her one sketch is almost exactly like the Dover Demon, which that was the most compelling thing to me, to start looking and putting out emails to people who are like, hey, have you ever heard of anything like this? Looking for more eyewitness sightings. Then people came to me with their emails and stuff like that about their encounters.
The only thing creepier than a bent over rake or crawler is a standing crawler.
Right.
I mean, it's really creepy. The fact that they go down on all fours and stand up. How many reports in total do you think that you've collected? And then how many do you think go unreported? It's got to be a tiny...
I'm sure tons go unreported. Just with like Sasquatch sightings, people don't want to be ridiculed. So I'm not sure. And I'm
if you had to take
sure there are people...
If
I had to take a guess of how many went unreported.
Yeah, what percentage?
That's a really good question. I would have to say at least 60% or more. I think there's definitely we're just in the infancy in studying these things, because it took me 2 years just to get as many as I did.
Wow.
Let's see. Yeah, I haven't actually counted how many are in the book. It's upwards of almost 50 encounters.
Are you planning on setting up a website or anything for, to start having a reporting center for these sightings? I know
that's a good idea.
Not that uncommon.
Mm-hmm. No, I haven't thought of that. Maybe if the book gains enough traction, we could add a website if it does well.
Maybe if you sign with Hanger One, it might.
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, we'd love to publish your book. I mean, it fits so well into what we can do, and what
Absolutely.
we do.
Well, we could put a dedicated page too that goes along with the book, so people could report sightings and collect, really detailed reports. And I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, you should definitely secure that that web domain.
Crawlers.com.
Call it the CFRO.
Yeah. Crawlersearch.net.
Yeah. Crawler. God, why can't I think? Bigfoot Field Research Organization. Be the crawler.
CFRO.
Yeah, it's CFRO.
Yeah.
Crow.
Right.
The crow. I think that'd be awesome. Oh my God. I joke about this thing only because it actually makes me nervous. So I'm not making fun of the topic.
Oh no, I totally understand. I wouldn't.
It does. It just makes me nervous.
Run into any of these things. So
yeah, if I'm outside, I'm rarely looking up. I'm always looking down for these little creepy creatures.
Mm-hmm.
It's just. I think it's just natural. I think I'm not alone in that we're all afraid of small humanoids versus big ones. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, and even then, I've based on encounters, I've identified 3 different types of crawlers, which I believe to be, they're basically just different heights. So there's the smaller ones, which are like younger, like child sized, like infant baby sized. The like child sized ones, which are more like younger kids, so like 3 to 4 or so feet tall, and then there's the bigger ones, like the one from Kentucky from the cover of my book, which are 5 to 7 feet tall. But I think they're just different growth stages.
So Slim Pickens says that the Michigan Aboriginal Project has audio of these things captured. Is that right?
That's a first for me. I haven't heard of that.
I haven't either.
I'd love to listen to them or take a look at them.
Maybe during the show we can figure out how to do that, Alex.
Yeah.
If he allows us to.
Yeah. Let us know in the chat if you're cool with us bringing up your channel. I'll see if I can find it.
God knows
Obviously,
I hope
Yeah.
I hope a crawler doesn't sound like a sprinkler going off.
Be some PTSD for you.
Yeah, exactly.
so Deborah was asking, is there, because you had mentioned, people have seen them eating deer. Have there been any attacks on farm animals?
Not from what I've seen, not even like pets or anything like that. Pets will react to them. They've gotten a few where dogs will notice something and then they'll either run back inside or they'll leave, but no pets or livestock have been attacked or anything, which is interesting because a chunk of them were from farmlands and stuff like that.
So have you, what's been your personal experiences with like cryptozoology or crawlers, or have you had any weird experiences, sightings personally with any of this stuff?
I haven't had any in terms of crawlers, but I've had some things that might be considered Bigfoot encounters. I've had a very clear daytime UFO encounter that in Pennsylvania, which was that was actually by a nuclear plant as well, where we just saw this. This is in like 2008, summer of 2008, and we just saw this disc go across the tree line so far away, but it was completely silent. And then we watched it, and it was very slow. It was just going until it disappeared under the tree line. And then a day later, we actually saw military vehicles driving by where we were staying and going to where the UFO had disappeared behind the trees. And that happened in 2008. Haven't really had anything else happen in terms of UFOs or lights or anything. But we've had, I filmed a documentary in Maine about Maine Bigfoot encounters. And on that property we go to, we've had rock throwing or rock clacking, wood knocking, initiating in the middle of the night while we're sitting around the fire, where we haven't initiated them or anything. We've heard big animals in the woods, large, what sounds like bipedal something walking through the woods through the water beside us, where it's just like very clearly something stepping in and out of the water on 2 feet. And then our neighbor on the same property said he saw a big black hairy humanoid trying to break into the back of our camp while we were gone. Right. And he thought at first he thought it was a person, then he thought it was a bear because it was all black. And then it stood up and walked across the yard back down into the woods, and he said it looked like a Bigfoot. And all that happens throughout like the same area, which is in central Maine here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. There's plenty that goes on there. You've got a ton of wilderness.
Oh yeah.
In Maine.
Yeah, Maine's kind of crazy with how big something like a moose is, and then you could be following a moose and then it might just go around a clearing and stand still and you won't see it. Okay. And they're massive animals too. So something slightly smaller and thinner, I could totally believe could hide very easily.
Anyhow, apparently it got corrected. It wasn't crawler sounds. They were Bigfoot sounds.
Oh, okay.
So.
Yeah, I haven't received any audio, so there's not really anything to cross-reference with, but people have reported different. It's hard to imagine when people are just messaging it to you where it just sounds like a screeching of a weird cat or something like that. But
why do people draw them though with no mouth? Most of the drawings, they have no mouth.
It's a really good question. I'm not entirely sure, because a lot of people do specifically report like an opening mouth or a wide mouth. It might be the way its head is built. It might have a muzzle or something like that. So like the mouth might be like that underneath, but it's the way its head is. People might only see the flat part of the head.
Maybe there's no lips or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for adding that, Nate.
Yeah, it's just physical representation.
Yeah.
You fit a whole head.
I'm picturing this lower jaw that opens, yeah. And retracts. Yeah, thanks. That's good.
You're not want to just get out there and try and find one of these things.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard my story at the beginning of the show, but I mean, I've seen some weird stuff. I had one little creepy thing attack my car. I mean,
Yeah.
it attacked the car. It wasn't me hitting it. It hit me.
Right.
It leaped towards the car in order to get at me.
And
And
you said you saw its eyes, right?
I
Or its
looked
face?
right into its eyes. Yeah, I just remember these two big, bulging, very angry eyes.
And was
Did
it
it
a,
look
do you think it was
humanoid?
a Bigfoot or, yeah?
I don't know. I
Did
didn't
it have
see
like
its body.
facial
I mean,
features?
its head. I mean, when it slammed into the side of my van, it was just glued to the side of the van and just staring at me.
Jeez.
It was creepy, and it hit with such force. I mean, it was
Yeah.
boom. And I have no idea what it was. This is one of those things that happens. You least expect it. You're just thankful you weren't walking.
Yeah.
You're just
Yeah.
thank God I was in a car. Could you imagine if I just I'm gonna take a walk to the gas station? No,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, no thanks.
Because then you would have been chased and it would have been consistent with what
Who
people report.
knows? Yeah,
So,
you do wonder. You know,
yeah.
did I have an encounter with a crawler? Was it a juvenile Bigfoot? Was it
Mhm.
some other kind of weird creature? Who knows? I just know it was a weird creature. It was not a normal, it wasn't a dog. I can tell you that.
Right.
Dogs don't act that way. They
No.
don't leap at a side of a van with their, their wing, their front paws, and their rear feet extended.
Right.
Because this thing literally hit flat on the car. And I told you, it literally defecated all over the whole side of my
Right.
van, which is weird too.
Yeah.
And
And was that a certain like weird color or anything, or was it just?
I remember it was very much a light brown
Mhm.
and very consistent. It
Interesting.
was more like a silly putty looking.
Right.
Yeah, kind of that
So odd.
very fine consistency. There
Right.
weren't bones and fur and
Yeah.
berry seeds or anything in the excrement. It
Right.
looked like liverwurst.
Right.
It was a crappy night.
It looked like
Yeah.
you ever eaten liverwurst, Alex?
No, and you're not exactly selling it.
I was gonna say.
My mother used to, God bless her soul, used to feed me liverwurst constantly. And it was, I think about what I ate then, and I think about it now. Ugh.
Oh,
God knows what was in there. Yeah. Anyhow,
Yeah, I might go out and get some after this.
have you eaten liverwurst? Nate?
No, I have not.
There's another name for it. I can't. The liver sausage, I think they call it too. Oh, anyhow.
No.
Okay, I ate a ton of it when I was a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, you're selling us on it. It seems.
So, how many sightings total do you think there've been? Total.
That's a good question. I couldn't really say. Like I said, I've got at least 40 or so in my book, I believe.
That's quite a few.
I have to go back and count them. Yeah, and like I said, almost all of these are accompanied by eyewitness sketches to go with it.
out of that,
But
Nate,
I couldn't
out
say.
of all the, you said you had about 40.
Yeah.
I have to go back and count
Yeah.
all of them, but yeah, I've got a ton of them.
But let's say out of that 40, how many commonalities? Like, are they all pretty similar? We can almost line them up, like, stack them on top of each other. Like, are the patterns very obvious as far as like they all kind of have this shape or behave in this way? Like, how different are these testimonies?
Yeah, so the general sightings, aside from maybe the ones that are in barns or have some weird supernatural aspect, which are very few, people will be either driving or out in the woods, walking trails, and it's almost always at night. So these things are perhaps nocturnal. And then these people will either hear something in the woods. It's never really like it just jumps out and is like, rah, but they'll hear brush, and then they'll feel stalked, or they'll feel frozen in fear. They'll feel that something's off, and this is consistent with like 90% of the sightings I've gotten. And again, whether that implies like some kind of big cat infrasound, or it's just they're very stressed.
Just the shock, yeah, seeing something that's strange.
Yeah, and then they'll see it. It'll either their whole just worldview kind of changes because they're seeing this crazy looking thing, not prompted by a UFO or a flying saucer, which may make it more palatable, perhaps, but I don't know. And then it'll either run off or they'll leave, and it may. A lot of these report them actually coming back and stalking them through the woods, which they can hear it. And like you guys said earlier, these things are very fast. They don't usually walk bipedally when they're in pursuit. So it's more so, I assume, like a bear, where they'll stand up to get a better look, or to actually, with that Kentucky one, that's the cover of my book. They specifically said that it was almost like a snake kind of rearing up and kind of like sizing up them. And they said that specifically it was like a cobra, sort of making itself bigger, intimidating them, which I don't think it really needed help doing. But yeah, and then they'll say it'll either charge them or run by them, or it'll disappear back into the woods. But almost every single person it's stuck with them, understandably, and it's had a psychological impact on them.
So, because some people have joined late, B&H asked whether you think they're related to the Dover demon, and I think the answer was yes.
I do. I definitely do. Yep. Because we've even more so the adult ones are white or gray, and by adult I mean the larger ones. But the smaller ones, which would include the Dover demon, are sometimes skin colored or pinkish, and kind of people think of gray aliens, so every time there's art of the Dover demon, it'll be gray or green or something like that, and they all reported it as being this like orange peach kind of color, which is very distinct. And I have actually gotten separate sightings reported to me where they actually report skin colored and peach orangish kind of colors, which ties directly into the Dover demon history.
That almost rules out hallucination. I mean,
absolutely.
Nobody's going to envision a pink toned animal or an orange or a combination of orange and pink.
Yeah, especially when the pictures don't show them like that. The fact that people
Yeah.
would all line up and say that.
Yeah, exactly. And even then, if you're going to make up a story about seeing something that looks like a gray alien, why would you not just go all the way and say you saw lights or a UFO or something beforehand? If you're gonna make up a story, why would you strip all of like the most interesting parts of a gray alien?
So, do you want to find this thing, like in person?
I don't know if I would want to see one. It would be. Can't say it wouldn't be interesting. It's just like I'd love to see a Sasquatch. But I would like to. I don't think, unless it, attacked me or I went missing, I wouldn't appreciate that. But yeah, I do. Especially since I've spent so much time pouring through all these encounters and seeing what people are seeing and matching it all up. If it's real, I kind of know what to expect at this point. But yeah.
Do you know Lon Strickler by any chance?
Yes, I do. I know he's done his own. He's received reports of them too.
Oh yes,
on Phantom and Monsters.
Yeah, have you guys combined your data?
No, not yet. But that we should reach out to him.
Yeah, you should
see if we could combine or anything like that.
You should definitely do his show and talk about these things, because man, there's only one Lon Strickler.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
Oh yeah, he and I are friends on Facebook. So
yeah, I love Lon. So the peachy pink thing really gets me. I mean, can you talk more about that? I mean, are people seeing them in their headlights and they look orange, or are they self-illuminating? What kind of? I mean, just explain more.
Yeah, even with the eyes, people don't report them as glowing. Usually, there's maybe one or a small handful that will report them. The eyes actually glowing, like self-illuminating. Most of them either don't glow at all when hit with lights, and they're just black, either sockets or just black eyes, or they will reflect. I think green and yellow usually is what people report for eye shine. But with the skin color, only a small amount of people report them being, a different color other than gray or white, but there is this small handful, including the Dover Demon, original Dover Demon sightings that report them as orange or peach. And it seems to be the smaller ones. I don't think I haven't received any reports of the adult, larger ones that are 5 feet or taller that are any kind of color other than gray or white.
White.
So what's the most striking thing BH was asking out of all the reports? What's the most interesting, striking thing you've picked up about all these crawler reports?
Honestly, how much it ties back to not only like Dover Demon, but also I think the amount of consistencies within, because in the book, when you're seeing some of these eyewitness sketches, some of them are almost like, then these are years apart by people, across North America seeing these. There's a striking similarity between a lot of them, and some of these sketches are almost like you kind of look like you just copied that person's sketch, but yours was years apart. You're not related in any way, and these are private. Like, these aren't public things. These are things that I have that haven't been published yet. So it's very striking to me how similar, almost beat for beat, how some of these encounters go down, and how, at least from the sightings I've gotten, we can almost find the most consistent physical attributes, how they act when hit with a flashlight or a bright light or something, or how they react to people talking. It's very interesting and bizarre that there's so many consistencies with it, and that's the most striking thing for me.
Are there David Ellis asked, are there reports from other places in the world?
Most of the ones that I've gotten, I believe there are one or two in from the UK, I believe, and I have one or two from Canada in my book. But so far, and I believe I saw one from Australia, but mostly it's confined to the US, or at least those are the ones that I've received in reports. And I have the book kind of focuses more on, or the book does focus more on North America. But maybe a second book could be Crawlers Worldwide or something like that.
Are there any reports from Florida, where it gets hot and humid? Or is this more of a northern tier creature?
No, there's ones from Florida, southern states. We have even some in Maine, a couple from Maine and New Hampshire, and then Canada. So these things don't really seem to be bothered by climate or anything like that. Yeah, definitely California.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Iowa? Anything in Iowa?
I think there's one from Iowa. Yeah, one or two from Iowa.
That's super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because Joe he was heading towards the Iowa border.
Mm-hmm.
I find that interesting. Oh my God.
So what? Oh, go ahead.
How come me and Alex, how come we keep talking exact? It's exact at the same time. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask, let's say you were given $10 million. How would you further the research of the crawlers? What would you do with that money? How would you use it?
It's a really good question.
I would do. Nate, don't answer that. Just say, Alex, how would you use it? On him. Just totally reverse it. Say, I don't know. What the hell would you do with it?
I mean, that's a really good question. I wouldn't know really what I would do with it if we were talking about, Bigfoot or anything like that. Mostly because I don't know who would really be interested in going and looking for these things. Yeah,
exactly.
I don't think National Geographic is going to want to look for a gray alien type thing in the woods.
The sightings are too sporadic. There's really nothing to do. The only thing you could do would be cool. And what I would do if I had a bunch of money is then you could just sit around and wait for the next crawler report to come in real time. Get in a private jet, right?
Yeah.
and zoom there, and you're there in an hour, and then you stand around in the dark waiting for the crawler to attack you.
And we cover
That's
Nate.
that's the $10 million part.
we cover,
Yeah.
we cover Nate in deer meat, and we cover him up with GoPros, and we send him out in
Yeah.
the woods.
Well, yeah, you got to cover them in GoPros too.
Yep. After my book's published and I make the $10 million from it,
Yes.
So
I'll be willing to do that. So I'll take one for the team.
that was definitely an Alex question. Oh my God! But that's really what all you could do is sit around with a private jet
Really, yeah.
within an hour, and then you'd have a chance of seeing it because you could use yourself as bait.
Yeah, I would say I'd be more inclined to shoot one than like a Sasquatch or something like that.
Oh God, yeah, blow it away.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. That's funny. I'd be inclined to shoot. Yeah, I think you're about right. I don't think anybody would defend or actually be mad at you for shooting one either.
Yeah.
So based on the speed of these things, do you think you could outrun one, or do you think you're screwed if this thing wants to get you?
Okay.
No, I think you did.
Max.
I was gonna say, yeah. There's actually
if you're taking the trash out hypothetically.
Oh God.
And you saw one.
No, it's like a gorilla. If it really wanted you, it would get you, I think. I actually have one encounter that kind of describes how fast they were going because they were in a car, so they were going, I think it kept up with them until about 40 miles an hour before it left.
Gosh.
And that was on all fours when it was kind of sprinting after him.
So it was sprinting at the car.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And this was a larger one, so it was about as tall as like a stop sign.
And it was sprinting on all fours towards
It was, yep.
So when Joe had his sighting, and you can ask him tomorrow, right? Ask him tomorrow about it. He said it was so quick that it came within it. He should have hit it, but it was so quick and got so close to the car. It was zoom. It was gone. So
that's lines up directly with what's reported. Yeah. Like I said, they never sprint on two legs or anything. They're not like, I don't know, Olympic sprinters or anything like that. They're always on fours and sort of like bounding with all their limbs,
which is even creepier.
I agree.
So the Sin Stream asked, has anybody ever caught one on flare?
No. The only photo I've received is one from, actually, I think it was a night vision camera, but they sort of drew an outline of what it was, and it's not a clear photo at all. But I haven't received any photos outside of that. But that one's also included in the book.
Okay.
So have you looked up like any videos? Is there like the Patterson footage of crawlers?
No.
Or this is
that's
no.
Once again, all you got to do, Nate, is say, Alex, no.
No, there's one that people have been posting for like 15 years or a decade at least, of the CCTV one where it runs across the street or across the highway, and it's, if you go back to the original video,
I remember that one. It's like,
if you go back to the channel and go to his other videos, you can see the same CGI model that he uses for that and all of his other obviously fake videos. Yeah. But that one gets shared to this day. That I've seen. I'm always like, no,
it was black and white. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen CGI. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
But people still share that around, and I'm always the first to be like, nope. No. Look on this channel. It's definitely a hoax.
It's always usually the CGI ones that get away longest with the afterlife, and then every generation thinks it's real again. There's the Bigfoot footage of the one holding a baby, and it's kind of bouncing along. And I mean, that's CGI. Come on, people.
Yeah.
It looks great. I love it.
It's well done, but
it's CGI.
Even with that crawler one, it's well done because the CCTV, the frame rate's lower, the quality's lower, so you can fake it pretty easily. But once you look at the channel and see that his models are exactly the same creature, it definitely gives it away.
So Doug Charters asked, are the crawlers near bodies of water? And I think we sort of talked about that because Bigfoot's sightings, in almost every case, you can go 1,000 yards tops.
Mhm.
There'll be water in almost every case. Very geographic specific. But is there anything like that in the crawlers, or haven't you even looked into it?
I haven't really looked into it. I know one was actually from the San Francisco Bay area, but other than that, they're usually in, or there's a few that are in state parks and in the woods that are near. They're not entirely remote areas, which we could deduce that there would be some form of water nearby. But not from what I've seen. No one's ever reported driving through or past a lake or something, and then they see one across the street. From what I found, but
Yeah. Nice. Well, it was really nice knowing you, Nate. I'll talk to you later. This topic is so creepy to me. It really
yeah,
is.
I totally agree. I don't know how I've stuck
I
with
think,
it.
I
for
think
this long.
part of it is the fact that I had that thing attack my car. And then there was the other one
Right.
that me and my son saw it cross the road.
Oh,
It
really?
was white too, and it was kind of weird. It walked really weird, and then leaped over a guardrail and then ran down an embankment. And it was only like 4 foot high, I would imagine.
Yeah. So that'd be one of the smaller ones.
Yeah, and so that could have been a rake or a crawler too, I would imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. Want to fill out a sighting report for my book?
Has anybody reported them walking bipedally, like walking
Yes.
at all? And
Yes.
please don't tell me they kind of bounce when they walk.
Not really. They do walk kind of awkwardly.
They do.
But it's usually like a bear where they're on all fours and then they'll stand up to kind of intimidate or whatever they do. But usually they're, it's where the name crawler kind of comes from. They're always, even with the Dover Demon ones, they're the only one that showed it standing up was when it was kind of like propped up against a tree or holding itself against a tree. But there are some eyewitness sketches that have them bipedally and then they sort of shuffle away, but they're mostly on all fours.
Have you learned anything? Has the government done anything with this? Any talks of cover-ups, or is it just kind of maybe just being ignored by them right now?
If they're covering it up, I think they're doing a kind of a good job. I mean, like I said, this is very much in its infancy still.
Yeah.
Once I hopefully once the book comes out, more people will come forward and we could update it or make a volume 2 or something. But not from what no one's reported like Men in Black or black helicopters or military or anything like that. So
No one's told them to not share their story or anything like that.
No, unless someone did and it worked and they didn't report it to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
So, well, based on eyewitness reports, do you think we're dealing with the intelligence of like a black bear, or are we dealing with high intelligence?
I'd say maybe not to the level of like a human being or even a Sasquatch, but definitely more than a bear. There's even a couple people who have explicitly stated like this thing knew where I was going to be before we were there. And it definitely knew the environment better than they did. And these are people who have lived in the area where the sighting was, and have been out there every day. And they're like, I definitely felt like this thing knew the environment more than I did.
Can you expand a little bit on that? Like what happened with that?
Yeah, tell us the whole story.
Yeah. So I don't recall which specific one it is, but actually that Kentucky one is kind of like the almost like the gold standard for the sightings, because that's what a lot of people kind of reported, where like I said, it would stalk them through the woods after they saw it. And then once they were coming out, because they were in a state park after hours, they weren't supposed to be there. And it was called Red River Gorge in Kentucky. And when they came out after they were being followed by this thing, they heard it sort of like pacing around the woods around them. And they were like, yeah, this thing knew if it wanted to get us, like we would have gotten taken. It would have gotten us if it wanted to.
Was it like a couple friends? Was it a couple? Like,
Yeah, it was a couple and then their one friend, and they were hiking after hours, and they came upon this person actually who was walking by them past the trail, and they all had their headlights on this woman. It was this woman who was there, and she either saw it and was traumatized like before they did, because they were like, this woman's off, because they would ask her questions and then she would be like, yeah, someone said the Corral story in the comments. That's correct. And the woman, they all had their lights on her, and she was just not phased by these bright headlamps at all. And they were like, how are you? Like, are you okay? And she was like, I'm fine. And was just having these long pauses like between her words and stuff, and then left. And they were like, oh, okay. And then a while later, that same night, they had their encounter with the crawler that chased them through the woods.
so was this woman just traumatized, or was she an alien? What?
Not sure. That's one of like the weird things. They were just like, we have no idea. I think she probably saw it before they did and was traumatized. But she was not making an effort to like sprint or anything like that. And that was one of the things. A lot of people report that after seeing it, is that it leaves a huge psychological impact on them, which is understandable, I think.
And you're not joking.
So
No.
she can't really get her words out, or it's just she's just being weird, and then she leaves, and then what? They kept going and then saw it and then left?
They kept going up until they got to this clearing where they were stargazing, and then on their way back, I believe they heard it, and then they saw it, and they all had their headlamps on it. And it stood up, and it was this big thing. That was the same story where they said it moved like a cobra when it stood up, sort of like sizing itself up, making it more intimidating. And it either took off or they walked off, and then it was following them through the woods. And then they got out of the state park or the park or wherever they were, and then they could hear it surrounding them, like in the woods, trying to either chase them out or trying to get them or whatever.
So did they like just hear it like following them, or did they see like traces of it like through the tree?
They heard it, and then they one of them, actually one of the sketches that looks like one of the Dover Demon sketches is actually it alongside on all fours chasing alongside them. So it was keeping pace with them as they were being followed by it.
So were they running back out of the park?
They were, yeah.
Wow.
As best they could, because it was down, it was steep terrain. But like I said, it's one of those things where it moved so without like issue through it. It knew the environment, it knew where to go and how to traverse it.
That's so weird.
Easily better than they could.
And then when they got to the car, did it follow them afterwards?
No, but no, it didn't. But they told me that they had all written down what happened on their phones separately. And I don't have their messages because this was years ago, but they told me that they had all written the same thing, so it wasn't a hallucination.
Because they were worried that they were hallucinating because it was so crazy.
Yeah.
Story.
Oh yeah. And they said their stories, or they told me that their stories lined up exactly, but they were also the ones telling me the story. So.
I'm gonna get you a little crawler doll after tonight.
I have this gray alien right here with my two X-Files aliens.
Gosh. So would you mind reading just a small snippet of your book?
Yeah, absolutely. I could find
that'd be awesome.
I could read off a shorter case file.
Yeah, it'd be fun to actually hear in your words story.
Yeah, totally.
Love to do that. Yep, Alex, I'm going to get you 2 crawler dolls. Big one, a real life size, and then a small one you can wear on your wrist.
Yeah, I could be a consultant for crawler design.
Yeah, we could do
for
one.
A plush.
Yeah, we've got the equipment. We could make a crawler. Yeah. Mold them in white or peach. But they're very light colored, right? They're light colored.
Yes, yeah.
No matter what color, the pink, peach, but they're almost white. I mean, they're very
like an ashy color of whatever they report. Yeah.
No fur,
No fur. Some one or two report hair, but like light, like human arm hair, but never any like fur, like a Bigfoot or anything like that.
Oh, so they got really close.
So yeah, and that was actually one of the ones where it was reported as being pinkish.
You're talking about like short arm hair.
Yeah.
Not long arm hair. Short.
No. Nope.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it just keeps getting better, Nate.
All right. Yeah, I have one from Swan Lake, Montana from 2015 in December.
Yeah.
This one person specifically says that it looked like it was a Dover demon-like creature. They were walking down a logging road.
You can just read it so we know you're reading.
You know, all these case files are completely quoted from the people too, so I could totally just read it if you wanted.
Just read it. I'd love to just hear it.
So Swan Lake, Montana, 2015 in December. I was 18 when the story took place in the winter of 2015. It was not super long and not particularly scary, though. I sure was terrified when it happened. I was on a logging road south of Swan Lake, Montana, sort of near Beaver Creek, I believe. There was a decent amount of snow on the ground. I was visiting home. Her home was Swan Lake for a couple of days with her little sister, who was 17 at the time, and wanted to go for a drive to listen to music. So they drove for a good 20 minutes to find a back road and pull off a good distance from the main road so no one would see them. It was pitch black and in the winter, so it's completely dead silent, eerie, especially out in the boonies like that. And that's a quote. I left my headlights on just because I had this creepy feeling like we were being watched, but I just figured it was deer or something. I'd seen moose on the road, so I knew it was busy and they knew wildlife. My sister and I were having a conversation when I looked out into the trees, and I swear I see this emaciated, pale, white humanoid type thing just barely trying to hide behind the trees. It was still in the darkness beyond my headlights, so it kind of melted into the shadows. And that's another thing that's very commonly reported. They almost know how to use the shadows to camouflage or against the trees or stuff like that. They stared at it for a long time. She stared at it for a long time. Her sister was involved, talking, so she was oblivious to her change in mood, but she couldn't take her eyes off of it. It had this misshapen head that was too big for its thin body. Its eyes were two huge, black, unblinking marbles. It didn't move or anything, so I kind of told myself it was just something that I was seeing in the shadows. It was beyond the light enough so I could write it off as that easily. I went back to talking with my sister for a while and decided to see if I could still see the shape of the creature in the shadows the next time I looked up, and it was closer, just at the edge of the light. I felt so scared that my eyes filled with tears. It was sort of hunched to its right side was standing with the rounded back to its bony, weird hands in a claw shape. I had pulled onto the beginning of a single lane road that was plowed 10 feet in. There was no room for me to turn around, so I had to back out. I made the terrible mistake of just gunning backwards. Every time I keep looking back, it was closer and closer. I ripped the plastic covering off of the driver's side mirror, almost hitting a tree in my rush. I hate to say that I left it there, but I was too scared to stop and pick it up. Sorry, Mother Nature. My sister never saw the thing. She was super confused about why I randomly decided to get quiet and then book it out. We drove for a while longer, but I didn't pull off anywhere. I still felt really creeped out. It took me a while to get comfortable going out into the woods alone or driving down back roads alone at night again. I definitely still have no clue what it was, but it wasn't some confused hiker wandering around naked, but had an upright body like a person. Kind of like those Dover Demon sketches, but it was between Swan Lake and Seeley Lake in Montana, and it was white and ashen. And they did provide a sketch to go with it. And that was that encounter.
He's muted.
Sorry, I was muted. Is that typical of the detail that you would get in a report?
That one's more definitely unique, but in terms of it, following them and just sort of kind of staying out in the light and then sort of judging, kind of trying to judge how close it can get, I guess. And this was a smaller one, so it definitely is probably, again, my theory is that the different sizes are growth stages, so this is most likely a younger one, not entirely maybe accustomed to seeing people or cars. So it got closer, but like I said, she was just frozen when she saw this thing. And then it had an effect on her afterwards. So this is pretty much similar to a lot of the other ones.
Any sightings in the winter?
Yeah, that one was. I think I've got another one.
I'm not talking Florida winter. I'm talking
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is a good one. Actually, this one's a little.
Doug wants to know if they can survive a Minnesota winter.
Yeah, that's basically.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things. It's like I'm not sure how they survive winters without hair or anything like that. It may mean that they're a more supernatural thing, or that they go and hibernate or something like that. But yeah.
Or they dig a hole and you go underground for one sleep.
Right.
Yeah.
Or find a hell.
Hopefully never to return.
Could you imagine something like that living under your porch?
No, and I don't really want to.
Oh, God.
At least then we could have a photo for the book.
See, now you know why I'm afraid to take the garbage out at night.
Yeah, the sprinklers might get you.
I was thinking about that. Yeah, I wonder if there's one living under my porch. I'm teasing, but it's kind of true.
Yeah, and then once we get the book out, you can have a copy with you as like a field guide. So
yeah, field guide. Yeah, next. Just what I'll want, Nate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to keep field you up.
How to find the crawlers. Oh, God. So I interrupted you. You were going to mention another story in the wintertime?
Yeah, this one was from the same year, I believe. Or February, so it was actually earlier. But this one was from British Columbia in Canada. So again, very cold climate. Basically, the person and this was a tall, like 8 to 9 foot. This is actually one that was in her home. If you want me to read
sure.
this one, this is another one.
Yeah. Thanks, Nate. Go ahead. Back yourself up.
All right. So I had this very disturbing encounter about 6 years ago with a tall humanoid being 8 to 9 feet tall in my home. Matches with the description of a crawler, almost anorexic with elongated arms and fingers, but the encounter I had was strange. This is a more supernatural one. I remember waking up from a nap and hearing what I assumed was my boyfriend returning with food. My house has a bedroom on the basement level in the kitchen, living room, entranceway, front door, and bathroom is on the floor above. So there are cushioned stairs descending from the bedroom that when walked on make loud thumping noises, and my boyfriend has a familiar way of running down them that I always recognize. I had taken a nap while he went to go out to get food, and I'd woken up by the loud thumping of what sounded exactly like his feet running down the stairs. Anyone with partners, kids, or family members know you can identify almost every person's distinct way of walking. So I get out of bed, walk to the bedroom entrance, all groggy. I knocked over one of the cans from my bedside table, waking up, which is an important detail for later, they say. My bedroom entrance faces slightly away from where the stairs end. I have 2 glass doors. I go open them, and I see an 8 to 9 foot tall being staring over my head, not at me, which they say they remember distinctly. And I was craning my neck to look up at its face. It had glowing white-yellow light emanating off of it. I remember my hallway downstairs is illuminated. Its body is skinny, pale white, beige. It had no mouth or eyes, and I don't quite remember, but were black and empty. It had outrageously long arms and fingers, and I remember being scared that it would touch me with them, which is fair enough. This is the strongest memory I have. Its arms were in the hugging position, like a parent or significant other who wants you to come into their arms, wide and open. Most people would scream or run or do anything but just stare silently, but this is all I felt I could do. I felt drugged almost. I crane my neck, staring at it for what feels like a short time before I start getting feeling of calmness and tranquility and even care flowing through my mind and body. I get the urge to go back to bed and sleep. I remember being mortified once I realized the thing in my bedroom doorway wasn't my boyfriend who had gone out to get food, so I don't know why I just returned back to bed so calmly. It is almost like it sensed my fear and with its outstretched arms calmed me down telepathically with a stay calm, it's all right message she felt. Despite the warmth of the encounter, I still felt like I had to be respectful. This thing was vastly more powerful than me, or at least that's what it felt like it conveyed. Once I was in bed, I glanced back at my doorway. I saw it had left / dematerialized. In hindsight, I remember feeling like a child obeying its parent during the encounter, even though I was 19 years old. When my boyfriend finally got back and he woke me up and I was terrified. This time I yelled, like all the repressed fear I had from earlier manifested. Importantly, the can I knocked over when I went to go to the bedroom entrance was still on the ground. I picked it up with my boyfriend and when her boyfriend got back. I'm interested in knowing if what I saw was a crawler, or if it could be an angel of some kind. Alien was one of my thoughts, but it was glowing and huge and didn't have a terrifying, menacing quality other than when I first realized it wasn't my boyfriend. As I mentioned, I felt warm and cared for strangely. Sleep paralysis is also possible, but wouldn't I then have been paralyzed or unable to move, or unable to knock over the can? And the eyewitness sketch they provide is almost exactly like what the one in Kentucky looks like on the cover of the book.
Nice. It's nice. I love how they interpreted the hugging motion into something
in your own room.
Yeah. I'm an alien-like creature. I just broke into your damn house without telling you, and now I want a hug. Okay.
If it makes you feel better, that's one of the only other ones where it
Yeah.
talks about being inside or having anything like that happen.
But everybody walked away, right?
Yes.
That's good. So Mike, Mike had mentioned that he had an experience that was not pleasant. Says I was actually it was two separate sightings, but one frightening encounter. So Mike, was that a crawler type experience? Can you get into more detail?
He's typing super fast.
Yeah, Mike, type faster.
Someone comment that sounds more like an alien abduction.
Yeah, not really. I mean,
the
description, and you had mentioned, everybody mentions they're very emaciated. Do people actually ever like say, "Oh, I could see the spine"? You know, the outline of the spine.
Yeah, some people can say they see the ribs. They never describe clothes or anything like that, so it's not like an alien wearing a jumpsuit or something like that. One encounter, actually, this is one that had a wide mouth across its face, where the body was actually sort of twisted. It looked like the body was like, I don't know, like wrung out almost, like a towel, but they were still moving perfectly.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So, Mike, if you can, obviously you can hear me. If you want to, we could. There's a way to get him a StreamYard link, isn't there, Alex? If he sends his email address to Alex@untoldradio.com.
Yep. Alex@untoldradio.com. I could send him a link if he wants to jump on. That'd be interesting.
We'll get you on. And you could just be audio only, Mike, but all you have to do is just click the link and talk into your phone like a normal call. And we'll have you on the show if you're willing. Let's see what he says here.
I'd love to hear it, yeah.
Yeah, I like getting people on real time.
Yeah,
especially two separate
sightings. Down. I'll pull my email up.
So, yeah, it's Alex.
Alex@untoldradio.am.com.
Yeah, you gotta have the AM in there. Untoldradio.am.com. So yeah, get your thing and we'll get you on and hook you up.
I'm gonna have 50 people email me saying
yeah, big mistake. It's me, I'm Mike.
Yeah, 50 mics.
Will the real Mike please stand up?
Yeah. No, we have good people.
He said you could send it to his Facebook Messenger if it's easier.
All right.
Which I think this is his Facebook that's linked anyways.
Yeah.
Or in the chat at least.
Yeah, let me see here. You guys keep talking and I'm gonna try to get Mike on.
So people have mentioned the bones.
Yes, the being able to see the ribs and things like that. Yeah.
And bony fingers too, huh? Ugh.
Yep, bony fingers. Not really feet. I think one or two people described it having regular kind of feet, more like not regular, but 5 toes. Not really like a human. Nobody's described any like claw marks or footprints or anything.
Well, the fingers are the creepiest. Have you ever seen I think it's a primate. It's one of the early New World primates called an eye, and it's got that one long, creepy
Skinny finger.
Yeah, and it's a creepy finger that it probes for insects.
Yes.
That's what it reminds me of a crawler, but with 5 of those. Ugh.
Yeah, and crawlers have claws too. So
Well, the eyes do too, only on one finger.
right, yeah.
Who in the hell creates an animal with one long finger? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
What the hell? Are you getting in touch with Mike?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Well, we kind of added cool bonus.
Yeah, he said he had a couple encounters, and there's a few people who have reported seeing these things twice or 3 times as well.
Which means they hang around in one area.
So it would seem, yeah.
That's good to know. Those things are good. Those are good things to know.
These are the facts, yeah.
Oh my God, you're killing me, Nate.
I'm just the messenger. I'm just reporting what I find.
Well, I think it's going to be great with your book because it's going to make it more okay for people to report sightings.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
That's part of the idea.
And there's been books on the crawler phenomena, I don't believe.
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah.
But like I said, I know Lon Strickler's gotten.
Well, Lon just took his book. He just took his manuscript that he wrote and tossed it in the trash.
What? Really?
Why?
Because he knows your book's coming out.
Oh, really? Is that true?
No, I just made that.
Oh, I almost felt really bad.
No, I totally just made that up.
I definitely, I'd love to do a second book and maybe collaborate with him or something like that. I think that'd be super awesome.
Nothing I would look forward more to than Crawler 2, Volume 2.
Right, yeah, even more.
Yeah, nothing more. So are you going to be able to get him on, Alex?
Yeah, he said he'll be right there.
Oh,
I just sent him a link.
Cool.
So we'll just keep talking. I'll let you know if he pops in.
Mike's probably leading us on.
He's going to creepypasta right now looking at the story.
Alex, that was mean.
What?
That was a mean comment. He's going to creepypasta to look up a story.
No, creepypastas are usually not well written, so.
No, exactly.
No, I'm sure he's got a legitimate story.
No, I mean, he wouldn't have tuned in. One thing that you do know about eyewitnesses, they become, researchers because they want answers.
Absolutely.
They don't want fame. Yeah. They just want answers.
And even a lot of people reporting them just want to know like what. Yeah. I think the biggest question after I've talked with people, the question they always ask is like, am I like alone? Is this the only thing? And I'm just like, whether this is comforting or not, no, there's a lot of people that are reporting exactly what you're reporting.
Isolated.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, ever been reports of a family of crawlers?
Not from what I've seen.
Yeah, Deborah was asking that.
Yeah, that was Deborah. I stole Deborah's question.
No, I have not.
So they've always been alone. That's interesting.
There's one, which was the one with hair where it had the pink skin. The guy said he was driving by, so he only saw it for a few seconds. But he said he saw the one from behind, and then he said he thought he saw a second one lower down in a ditch. But that's one of the only ones where I think there's been multiple of them.
Nothing like plural crawlers.
All right, looks like Mike's joining us.
Oh, sweet.
Mike, welcome aboard.
What's up, guys?
Hey,
Mike.
How are you?
Great.
Doing good. So
what happened?
You got the floor, man. Tell us your story.
All right, so just a brief background. I was in the Army, and I went to Afghanistan, and when we got back, I got out like right after, and I just like I had PTSD. It was a whole mess, and I ended up getting into heavy addiction. So now I had to fix both, and I was going to the VA hospital like a lot, and there were these. I had bad social anxieties, and I was, trying to get back, normal, whatever. So for like 5 years, I was walking in these woods, and nothing abnormal happened at all. Long Island, New York, so I wasn't like expecting anything cryptid. Like it's not something you expect to happen in that area.
Yeah,
and,
nobody ever does. Nobody ever does.
So you're going there to calm your mind?
Yeah. So like I was really into the Sasquatch and all that stuff, but I wasn't ready for it at all. So this is right around the time I had my first like Sasquatch encounter. So I'm gonna speed through a lot of that, but I put a lot of time and effort into that. So after that, I'm pretty sure that's when people decide I'm never going back in, or I got to get answers. So
Right.
So I decided, I wanted to get some answers. So I don't really know how, I know a lot of people are stuck that there's no like quote unquote woo involved with them, but it's the way it went for me. So I do have like the telepathy between just one in particular, not every single thing in the brush and everything under the sun. But this is kind of important towards the end of the crawler situation. So I'd say I have like a relationship with one at this point. And as weird as that sounds, I mean, it is what it is, So getting to I would categorize it as what looks like, if I had to put a label on it, it kind of looked like a rake or a crawler or something to that effect. Like, that creepy pasta picture of the thing, like, and it's like, it's
the
just
trail cam
yeah,
one.
it's like a pale humanoid. That's as close as I can get to it. This thing wasn't huge, but it wasn't human. It was pale, but it had like the veins on it, like you could see they were so raised. And it was like the first time I saw it, it was like a rainy day. They were both kind of rainy days, a little bit of overcast. But the first time it looked like it was iffy about my presence. It didn't advance. It looked maybe like it was inquisitive a little bit. And it took off, and it went under these, like, I guess they're buildings, but there was like a cave entrance, if you will. But it wasn't really a cave that would be under there. It was going under like some
like
old, like old historic buildings. Like that's where it kind of went under.
No.
I don't want to give away location. You know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of being a little vague. But
So I'm gonna just stop you, Mike. Just so we know, were you walking? Were you hiking in the woods?
Yeah.
What time was it? And was it dark?
See, that's the thing. It was basically like midday both times, but it was like an overcast. Like it was one day it was rainy and one day it was very overcast. So you know how like certain animals, like when there's overcast and things, like they come out when they, like nocturnal animals, sometimes they'll come out like when there's an overcast or like there's a storm coming. I kind of get the vibe like this thing was nocturnal, but it was comfortable kind of venturing out a little bit.
Yeah, it wasn't bright. It wasn't a robin blue.
Right.
It was cloudy, overcast, super overcast.
And you're saying you saw this thing twice?
Yeah. So the first time it kind of took off after it kind of checked me out, and it was freaky enough, but like I just figured I could kind of dodge that area. So the second time it was a while later, and it just, I don't want to say it slipped my mind, but it slipped my mind, and I kind of got closer to that section again, and this thing, kind of like that what we were just talking about, it was almost like perched up, and its back legs, I guess its back legs were on the ground, but its front was on a log, like a down log, and there was a lot of brush between us. So at this point, I'm kind of comfortable because I had just come from the area that it's at, and it took me about 15 minutes to get through all the stuff that's on the ground. Now, keep that in mind because in a minute, it's going to come into play. So this has got me kind of comfortable because of how long it took me to progress through that stuff. but I can see it kind of like leaning forward a little bit, like it wants to lunge, but excuse me.
It's
I don't
okay.
know. I don't know how it's like still traumatic.
I can understand. Trust me.
I don't get that, but
No, it's common with what a lot of people have reported. Like I said, yeah.
I don't get that way with the other stuff, but anyway, so this thing, I guess maybe I was thinking, I don't know if I was thinking, but maybe I was thinking like it was gonna do what it did last time and just kind of go away. But it looked stronger. Let me tell you that. It looked stronger than it did the last time. Like it looked more confident. It looked more bold. Like, I mean, there was a lot of characteristics about it that were more like powerful than the last time I had saw it. And I don't know what to make of that. You know what I mean? I kind of revert back to like vampires. Like you ever seen Interview with a Vampire when like they're weak, but then they eat and then they're not? You know what I mean?
Right.
So it was something similar to that.
It's an interesting.
It's the only way I could correlate it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But this thing took off at me. And the brush, all the down logs, all the thick thorns and brush and everything I just made my way through, it was clearing it like it wasn't anything.
How far away would you say it was at that point? Like when it started charging you?
Football field. Probably like a football field from start.
Yeah, so a ways away.
Yeah, it was a good way. If that, but I'd say it was, give or take, but probably that much. But I'm watching it, and it's using its arms and its like legs to kick off trees and down logs and like pull itself like at one point it grabbed like these two trees that were near each other and like pulled itself and lunged through, almost like like Superman like punch would do in UFC. Right. Like that's how it like kind of propelled itself, almost like a frog jumps.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just so much that like happened in that few seconds as it progressed. And I'm pretty sure at this point I'm just accepting that this is it. I really didn't. Now again, it wasn't huge, but it was probably like a 6.5 foot, and but it was really strong. Like I don't know, like I don't want to say it was like muscular, but maybe like an Olympic like runner, like build, like very cut but like strong.
So Mike, so this thing's charging you. What did you do? Did you freeze? Did you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was stuck on stupid. Yep. Stuck on stupid. Like I could only imagine what my face looked like.
I would have done the same thing.
Yeah. So, and so this is where the Sasquatch thing comes into play. And I know a lot of you don't know me from a hole in the wall, so you might call whatever. I'm not here to sell you anything, but this is when the one that I call him Bubba. So the first time I had that encounter, I dropped to the floor in fetal position, screaming, no, no, no. I was crying because he was very close to me. He didn't do anything scary to make me react that way. I just did. And I ended up nicknaming him Bubba because, when like people go to jail and they're like, oh, that big dude Bubba, like that's just like, I had no correlation really to put it together. And it just kind of stuck, You
felt helpless around it?
Yeah. So it just kind of stuck. But anyway, this Sasquatch shows up next to me. And mind you, I'm just stuck on stupid. And I kind of I don't look up all the way. I don't really fully like stare at him or anything, but I could see him out of my peripheral. And this, I don't even know what this sound is, but it's this high, like how like dolphins and whales sound underwater, like this, I get like echolocation almost. It's the loudest scream, but it's not like a scream. It's like it's a weapon, kind of like he's screaming at the thing, and it's almost like I could see the sound hit him or her, whatever, hit this thing, and as soon as it yelled at it, it changed direction and went for that hole again, and it's like he turned his head and brought the sound with it. You know what I mean? If I'm portraying this proper.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like he moved his head with the sound to like guide it out of the way, and that's how it ended. And I started to leave right away and go up the hill, and as I kind of glanced back, almost like how you would like sage like a house full of like bad energy, it was like he was screaming in the whole place, like clearing it out, like as if like maybe there was something else in there, or it like needed like a cleansing, or what, I don't know. I'm just speculating, but it's just screaming like clearing house almost.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just like, I can't see the sound, but I feel like I can, if that makes sense. Like,
right.
Like I felt like I knew what he was doing with his vocal by just going back and forth. So, I mean, and that is basically the whole thing in a nutshell. And as crazy as I know it sounds, like,
well, it's a crazy story, but your details are amazing, Mike.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Thanks.
You're saying basically the Bigfoot did some kind of high pitched sound that made this thing change course, and it ran away. Correct?
Yeah, but it wasn't like a scream because he was right next to me and it didn't hurt my ears. But I know it was loud because it shocked this thing to the point where it was like it hit it like a 50-round bullet. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And made it change direction. But he's in my ear and it's not hurting my ear, so that's how I know it wasn't like a scream. It was something else high pitched. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sort of infrasound, something.
Yeah. Well, ultra. It sounds like ultrasound.
Ultrasound, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Have you told this story to many people, Mike?
I've told it once on my channel, and it took a lot out of me that time too.
Oh, jeez.
It's fair enough.
Yeah.
So, Mike, how close did that crawler get? Like, was it still running at you when it was hit with that sound?
Yeah. That's why I say it seemed like it got hit with it, because he was coming, full speed, and it's like it just, when it changed direction, it was like it's like almost like it got hit with something. Like it was affected. Like, you know how Neo goes in the Matrix? Like it was almost like it got hit by something, and it made it change direction. And
so it desperately wanted to get out of the way of whatever it was getting hit with.
Yeah, I was just, like I said, I was kind of stuck on stupid.
Did you think it was just over for you? Did you think that thing was going to rip you apart?
Yeah, like looking back, in the moment, I don't know if I was even processing anything, but if there was any type of thought process, it was probably like no chance, type situation. Like I wasn't going to like try to put up a fight or anything. Like it would have been pointless. The way I was watching the strength of this thing haul ass through, I was like rolling over logs, and like, he's clearing it like it's nothing. And, I had to like put my back on logs and roll over because they were so big, and like, it was a lot for me to get through. And I'm watching this thing crash through it like it's nothing. Like it's not even there.
And am I right to say it sounds like you had a Bigfoot sighting before this? This might have been the same Bigfoot?
Yeah, no, it definitely was. Yeah, like while I didn't look up at him completely, I've had multiple situations, encounters with them, but again, it
would you consider yourself a researcher, Mike? You obviously.
I guess there's people. I don't necessarily research. I document a lot, and I share a lot, and I talk about a lot, and I'm open about a lot, but I don't necessarily researchers maybe, like I've found footprints and I don't cast them. Like, you know, like, or things to that effect. So I don't know if I'm more maybe trying to like form a relationship and
Okay.
and maybe have them come out and give us what they want to give us on their terms. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I like to try to experience as much as I can. I do film a lot. I post a lot. But again, I don't know if I was a researcher, I'd be a lousy one. You know, because I I let a lot of data go.
Yeah.
I
Well,
let a lot of data go.
I was just gonna mention. Well, you're a military man. You've obviously seen combat. Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
But somebody like you is not, in my mind, you're not going to make crap like this up. You don't need to. You've seen enough adventures.
Yeah.
In your life.
Right, right. Which is important. Why I tell people too, like, you know, I've been the tough guy. Like, my reactions are not tough guy reactions, and I've been, you know, and they're not tough guy reactions. Like, you know, because I always hear people like get on top of guys like, why didn't you chase it down? Why didn't you chase down that photo? You don't know till you're in that situation, and I ain't chasing down nothing.
No
Like,
one would. No.
you don't see a bear and say, oh man, let me get a closer pic.
No.
You know, like, let me get in the brush with it and take a nice, you know, selfie.
So you've described the crawler or rake. Can you describe the Bigfoot with more detail?
Yeah, now he's changed here and there, you know, but at that time he was he was so distinctive. He was somewhere like 9-10 foot, very big, dark coat, but he had, you know how like men have a chin strap, you know, at least when I was in school, it was like high school was a popular chin strap. So his was like a little thicker than a chin strap normally would be, but it went all the way around, and his coat was black, but this was gray, and it went all the way around, and it made him very distinctive. And then like he had the like Zorro mask, that like leather. I call it the Zorro mask, but it's like that leather, that like, I don't know, like, you know how they have people say there's no hair,
like no hair around.
People say there's no
the Patterson Bigfoot has that.
Yeah, so that's like what I call it. The Zorro mask is what he has. Like, there's no hair on that part, and it's like that gray leathery part. So, yeah, he's tall. He's big, but he's not. I wouldn't put him like, you know, I wouldn't say he's the widest, but he's very, very, very big build. You know, I don't really know. Like, there's no way to categorize them. There's no like, oh, they look like this, or like, oh, you know, you could compare them to this. Like maybe Shaquille O'Neal, but not even. You know, like he's just not big enough.
What do you think the like relationship is between the Sasquatch and the crawler? Like, do you think it was like invading territory or something like that, something more than that?
You know what? I like to believe that there's not thousands more 411s because of Sasquatch. I like to believe that. I like to believe they have a hand in helping us through a lot of things. You know, whether we know it or not, whether we see it or not. I like to think that they kind of are our little earth angel, like guardian angel, but you know, they're here. You know, and when we're in nature, they kind of got our back and keep an eye on us because we're a distant cousin type scenario. And that's just, I know people have had bad experience. I know I'm not trying to make blanket statements and say they're all good, but I've never had a bad experience. So I'm not gonna fabricate it and sell the monster, because I don't know that story. Now I know people personally that do, and I trust them. I trust their story, and I know they've had garbage, horrible, scary, terrifying experiences. But it's not my story yet. You know, it hasn't happened to me yet.
Yeah, you've had nothing. You've never had rocks thrown at you.
Yeah, you know, like they've been thrown at me, but like not at me. Like they've never hit me. You know, so while somebody's perception might be that was threatening, like to me, if they wanted to, I mean, that's like me throwing a rock at a toddler. Like I could hit him if I want to. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Yeah.
You know, he's not moving that fast. Like that's the equivalent from us to them is like, you know, so
You feel like it's more of a warning shot of just maybe.
Yeah, you never know. Like I could be, we could be about to like step on their, you know, baby bed or something. Who knows?
That's their way of saying hello, for all we know.
Yeah, right. There's so much that we'll never understand, or maybe we will. I don't know. I hope we do, but you know.
Very interesting. So, Nate, you must have a question. So,
I can't say I was expecting the Sasquatch, and I just think because I've done a lot of Sasquatch research myself, so it's not like I think I definitely think it's possible that, you know, they exist. Well, you definitely do because you experience that. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm interested in like what possible like role they play in the crawlers more so, especially if the Sasquatch seems to be fairly benevolent.
Yeah,
and almost like trying to get rid of that thing.
Yeah, my take on it is kind of there's like different areas and then there's community areas, almost like how you watch like a safari show and like the lions are over there, the elephants are over there, but then the watering hole, they're all there. And like I call them just cryptid community areas, and I think that there's like they kind of, you know, cohabitate or whatever the word would be. But you know, maybe at that given time they wouldn't have bumped heads at all if I wasn't involved. You know, who knows? There's so many ways I could look at it, and I just try to just say thank you all the time. Anytime I'm in that area, I'm in my head, I'm out loud saying thank you, you know.
So have you gone back since that experience to that area?
Yeah, it took me a while, but I did. Yeah, I did. I had to. I know it sounds silly, but I had to. I learned that one thing about trauma is like if you don't go through it, you know, if you don't go back like straight through it, it's just gonna always like rear its ugly head when you don't want it to. Yeah.
I think your description of powering through the forest is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, looking over fallen logs and just what speed do you think you got up to?
Wow, I wish I knew. You know, I don't know if this speed was super fast or not, but I mean, maybe 20. I don't know. I wish I had like a. I'm not sure. I don't even know. Like, I don't even know how fast like runners run when they run. You know, so I'm not sure. I couldn't put a mile.
When it was leaping, did it get air? I mean, did it leap over?
It was. See, that's the weird thing. It was almost like it was like trying to stay low or like trying to stay like.
Stealthy.
It was fitting. It was fitting through some tight holes like that you wouldn't expect, and like, I mean. It's just weird. It was the whole thing was just weird, and like I tried to think of as many analogies as I could to like you know make it so like something that we can familiarize with, but a lot of it just isn't comparable.
Were you armed, Mike?
No, I don't carry anything. I do now. Like when I'm in the Catskills and stuff, I carry spray and like a little taser that looks like a cell phone. But like it's not on me. That's just like in case something, you know, people outnumber me for some stupid reason or a bear I have spray for. But otherwise, you know, I don't carry anything. I kind of laid my weapons down, you know, when I got out of Afghanistan. So
do you think you would have been able to kill it or hurt it at least?
If I had like a rifle or something in my hand, probably as soon as it started moving, like if I wasn't froze, you know, maybe I would have reacted different, but I would have raised it right away. Yeah.
Do you think you could have hit it with how fast it was moving? If you could keep your cool?
No, maybe. You know, I don't know. I probably hope that it just scared it enough, you know.
It would run off.
Yeah, maybe. I really don't know. You know, that's a good question. But it was making some the movements were like just fluid and at the same time like very like
robotic,
like precise. Yeah, like just shit that I can't. Sorry, things that I can't do, like movements I can't make. You know what I mean? I can't like go sideways like that and like go up like that and down like that. Like it was impressive and amazing, but like disgusting and scary. Like
so BH was asking, do you think that maybe the missing 411 cases might be due to some of these crawlers?
Yeah. Well, now I do. You know, I before that I didn't know if they were a real thing. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. You know, there's a lot of the way I base the way I don't ever call somebody like a liar or say that they're fabricating, but the way that I base like what I really think I know by somebody who's telling a story is how well I know them, kind of, if that makes sense. Like when I know somebody like very well and I know about them and I have a trust-based relationship built with them, I question them less than I'm going to question somebody I've never met before, you know? But I've experienced so much weird that I can't just X out somebody's box off weird anymore, you know?
So looks like we're getting out of time here. I just want to ask one last question for Nate. Is this the first time you've heard of a crawler interacting with a Bigfoot or two sightings, you know, close back to back like that? Or even in the same area?
Yep. I've never. I know Pennsylvania is a big Bigfoot state, and even Kentucky people report Bigfoot sightings all the time.
Kentucky,
which are again two of the most biggest crawler states from what I've found. So it's not. I'm surprised to hear a story, obviously, of the two sort of having it out, but I'm not. When I look at the data, I'm not really surprised after hearing about it. So.
Your story topped our show. It didn't look like it was easy for you to tell.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, and I appreciate that.
You know, I was reluctant, but I got so much respect for you, Doug. I really do. Like, I mean, I know you don't know me, but I know you, and I respect you, brother. And
it's good to meet you, Mike, by the way.
Yeah. So I mean, you guys, you know, by way of. I appreciate you. I really do. All of you, you know, keep up the great work. And if we don't muddle, like for me, it was hard. Yeah. But like to not get on here when you ask me and like, you know, it doesn't do anybody any justice to not get this out. And,
no, I really do think that all of these sightings of weird cryptids or whatever you want to call them are far more common than we all know. And so we all feel crazy, you know, when we have these sightings. And I think it's just such a disservice to the world we live in to sit there and feel crazy because you saw something, you know, that's a little odd. And look what you've been living with, you know, all this time, kind of holding it in. That ain't good for any of us. It's not good for you, Mike. It's not good for anybody.
I mean, we could all be sitting in the same town, and then only one of us saw a rainbow that day, you know, after the rainstorm. But we don't start being like, "Oh, that's BS," because you saw it and I didn't, you know. Like, but you know how it goes.
Well, and it's super brave of you because with what you saw, I mean, 10 other people might have saw the same thing, but they're too scared, you know, to say a word about it, and they all feel isolated. So with more and more of these stories coming out.
Yeah,
I mean, people are
start collecting data and seeing consistencies and stuff.
Yeah.
I'll have to talk to you privately too, Mike, here soon.
Yeah, anytime.
I'd love to hear some more of your stories under a little bit less pressure.
Yeah, any of you guys feel free. You know where to find me now.
Yeah, I do know. I never forget you, Mike, ever. That's me. No, it's amazing that you were willing to come on, and thank you, Nate, so much for coming on too.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
I look forward to getting your book published and getting it out there to people.
Me too.
And thank you, Alex, and thank you, and good night, everybody. And thanks for all the great questions that the audience had. Yeah, they were awesome. So,
take care, everyone.
Yeah, good night, everybody.
Thank you, guys.